Hey, MadLab Nation, how you guys doing? Greg Mack, Rainmaker Podcast. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I know I did. I was up at Ryan Fern's Healthplex in Benwood, West Virginia, doing Rainmaker 201 with some of our great colleagues over there who are trying to build their practices, build their businesses, and make self-sustaining, successful careers out of being exercise professionals, which is why we're here. To support that effort for you individually as well as for your company. And so it was a great time, really sharp folks, and a lot of fun. I love doing those live Rainmaker 201s. If you're interested, you can go to the Web Hub, contact me, contact your amp, bunch of ways to check out whether or not we can set one up for you and your location and your crew. So we've been on the theme, right, of the team building stuff, the Rainmaker 301 process, a classical team building process, and we're gearing up for starting up some new teams here in the next month or so. So if you're interested in checking that out, again, get with your imp and or on the Web Hub, and you'll see where Rainmaker 301 is, and you can register, and we'll talk to you about whether or not it's time for you and your crew to go to the next level, which is from group to team. And we've talked previously about some of the key differences and definitions between group and team and mob and crowd and chaos. And hopefully we can take wherever you're at now and supercharge your process so you guys are functioning as a team. And one of the most important aspects of team is communication. And we certainly give this a lot of lip service, but communication is a very wide and deep topic and needs to be constantly talked about, looked at, rethought about as your group, your team continues to move forward towards your stated tasks. And I just wanted to give you some insights a little bit about how the Rainmaker 301 program starts to address this issue with the model that we're using. And really, you know, we're reinforcing through the notion of team the means of cooperation, because it's one of the key things about team versus group is the level of cooperation between team members. And when cooperation is at its highest possible level, I mean, you just get things done. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. They get done. And there's no chaos. There's no wondering. There's no pointing fingers. And so communication is absolutely crucial. And so if you don't understand the qualities of excellent communication and how that relates to increasing team effectiveness, you're not going to get over the hump. And so when we're looking at developing teams, the biggest problem, according to George Bernard Shaw, right, is that the assumption that communication has even taken place. Just because you're talking, and just because it looks like someone is listening, maybe they're just hearing, blah, 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 doesn't mean communication's happening. And so one of the big issues with communication, you know, is one, expectations and the different worldviews and paradigms each of us carry around in our noggins about how we are in the world and how we think other people are, our motives, our goals, our ambitions, our emotions, our feelings and fears can affect communication in a negative way. Attention span can be a real problem in communication. Terminology and the words that we use with each other. It doesn't mean necessarily that the words I use and the way I use them and what I meant or the way you receive them. And so, you know, combine that with prejudices and biases and different personalities, communication might be a little tougher than we think. And so we really got to work on that and figure out how best to communicate so that communication is as clear and relevant as possible, is as open and honest based on the situation as possible, is as timely and straightforward as possible, and is accurate and simple, and doesn't require, you know, 6 different translators to figure out what's going on when you're communicating with somebody. Because really, you know, companies and gyms that enjoy communications levels that are high quality, they get things done in an uncanny way that outside observers sometimes are stumped to figure out how just a few people get so much done. because once communication's good and it's going back and forth through the channels it needs to, it's not being replicated, duplicated, modified, and edited incorrectly. Important ideas move like quicksilver through your organization, and decisions, aren't necessarily have to be made in formal scheduled meetings that are 2 weeks away. You guys get things done quickly, and so the key is really nailing down and constantly talking about how you guys are communicating with each other, and so. Especially given how environments change and things grow and get influenced by outside variables. And when you look at communication just from a medium perspective, I mean, there's just a whole bunch of ways, communication can flow, right? You've got in-person formal meetings. You've got out-of-person formal meetings, go-to meetings, phone conferences. You've got email, you've got text, you've got Facebook direct messenger, you've got Facebook embedded in the thread, you've got Twitter, you got voicemail messages, you've got letters you can write and notes, you've got faxes, you've got Slack. I mean, wow. And apparently each of us has our own little unique things we like about how we're going to communicate and receive communication from people. And so I see a lot of teams or potential teams really start breaking down because of the lack of clarity of which channels and mediums are going to be used and for which purposes. And so I wanted to give you a couple quick ideas in order to help you understand how, at least, on my own team, my own companies, we look at some of these things, right? And so, we primarily use face-to-face, text, email, and phone, and try to get rid of the rest of the venues. There's some messaging going on as well, but we've also identified when a face-to-face is called for, because who likes going to meetings and sitting around a table talking to people when really it's not clear what's going on and nothing really gets done. It seems like a big waste of time, right? And so formally, we use face-to-face meetings when there's a relationship issue that needs to be developed. There's trust broken. Something's happened in a relationship, and that needs to be squared away. So face-to-faces formally are set up for that. If we're trying to identify, significant problems and solve them, we have face-to-face meetings for that. And anytime there's, company-wide updates and progress reports, we'll use face-to-faces for that. Obviously informally, technical questions, while we're working, is where we can talk to each other face to face, and when we're having fun and doing fun stuff together. Now, text we use individually for scheduling and changes in scheduling, and notice of no shows as scheduled meetings. And if you just have some quick information, that requires 100 letters or less, right, to get that done. We will have group texts that go out again for large scheduling changes, and if we're noticing that we need to look at something on social media, or we're maybe sending a research study or something. And email is again individually set up to request information that's got a little longer content associated with it. We share leads through email so they can be tracked, suspect and prospect inquiries, facility issues, things that are broken, need repair. Those are sent via email because all this can be easily tracked. And then any administrative information, reporting, statistics, payroll, things like that, we might go through email. And then obviously in group emails, research articles can also be sent. And so the last thing is phone for us. Phone is for personal conversations that aren't of the sensitivity or urgency that a significant personal relationship issue might have that requires face-to-face. Maybe technical questions about clients where you need a little bit more back and forth and ongoing questions and answers in real time about that. But any conversation that we think is going to be really longer than 10 minutes or so, but still not require a formal face-to-face meeting. So that's generally our guidelines for those particular mediums. And so I don't know if you've sat down with your crew and figured out, hey, which mediums are we going to use and which mediums are we going to use for what? so that information gets processed back and forth properly in a timely way. And so just some quick insight into, the Rainmaker 301 process on communication. We go into that a lot deeper and help you identify your own communication venues and which ones you're going to use for what. But that's definitely a critically important feature of high team quality function is high quality communication. So keep working on it. It's going to be worth it. And hopefully you guys are moving in the directions you want this year and meeting your company goals. And again, if you're thinking about, hey, maybe turbocharging what you're doing, let's get you on the Rainmaker 301 process so we can get you fully calibrated and getting ready to explode for the rest of this year and next. So, all right. See you guys next time.